Well, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg is calling for more oversight online. Zuckerberg is jumping into the debate around regulating the internet and calling on governments to take a more active role in policing violent content. Laura McQuillan is tracking this story and joins us now. So this is all in an op-ed by Zuckerberg. What does he have to say, Laura?
Well, this is at odds with what we've heard from him in the past, John, because Zuckerberg has been resistant to regulation of platforms like Facebook, but now we're seeing him come out and call for rules for the internet, and he wants governments to act. He even wants third parties to help act and to crack down on social media when it's not getting it right itself. Take a look at these 4 points that he laid out in the Washington Post in this opinion piece. Starting with harmful content, he says that a third-party body could help hold companies accountable when they run things like propaganda and hate speech and more. He says that standards should be set for sites to be held to. Also on protecting elections, which has been a big one for Facebook in the past. He says in terms of political ads, they need help to identify and verify political actors. And privacy and data regulation, which you'll be familiar with, Facebook having so much trouble with this one. They want to see common global regulations that protect users' rights to how their information is used, but they still want companies to be able to use that data to provide services. However, on this point, Zuckerberg says those regulations should also come with sanctions. So when companies, quote, make mistakes, they'll be held to account. And finally, on the subject of data portability, which is moving your data between apps or devices or into the cloud, he says there need to be clear rules about who is protecting that data, whether it's Facebook or whether it's someone else. This from Mark Zuckerberg. He says that Facebook could be doing more, but it can't do it alone, and governments need to help out. And we're hearing governments say, well, we're prepared to step up, one of those being Australia. It wants this on the agenda at the G20 meeting in June. It wants governments to be talking together about how they can regulate social media, hold it accountable, make it more transparent. But it's yet to be added to that agenda. We'll be watching to see if there's more enthusiasm from other countries as well.
But Australia really has done even more than that in that space, haven't they? Tell us a little more about it.
That's right. Now they're promising to come after executives like Mark Zuckerberg when they fail to take violent content off their platforms. Think, for example, of the Christchurch mosque attacks and that video that the shooter live streamed on Facebook. Well, many platforms had difficulty taking that down, and that's exactly what Australia wants to target. Its government is promising new legislation with 2 very hefty penalties. One of those would be potential jail time of up to 3 years for executives of these social media companies, whether they're in Australia, whether they're overseas and come into the country, they could be put behind bars. Also fines. These could be huge, up to 10% of a company's global annual turnover. Facebook's turnover last year topping $50 billion, so 10% of that, well, that would be a big hit to Facebook's bottom line. All of this would be left to a jury to decide if the company acted fast enough to take that content down. So it would be somewhat subjective. One to watch for sure, but this is the first country in the world talking about doing something like this. We are hearing others talking about acting, New Zealand included, after, of course, that attack took place there. Canada talking about it too. So perhaps we will see enough enthusiasm to get that on the agenda at the G20 and to make something of it going forward.